You're listening to Witch Wednesdays, a semi-weekly podcast source for all things witchcraft in the modern world. Join your host, Steph, on Wednesday mornings to chat about seasons, Sabbats, and all new witchcraft topics to help you make your life more magical. Welcome back to Witch Wednesdays. I'm Steph, and I have a guest here with me today that I am very excited to chat about. Before we get into all of that, I'm going to turn it over to her so she can introduce herself and let you know where you can find her online.
Hello, Steph, and hello, Witch Wednesday community, dear audience. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat today to you. I'm Laura Carbone, and you hear me speaking from Berlin, which makes me really, really excited. I am a singer and a medium and have just created a record called The Cycle that I would love to speak to you about. And yeah, I'm offering a mediumship consultation, whether they are online or offline, and I help people reconnecting with their authentic inner voice, with their essence, because I believe in our world, in our chaotic and very violent world, it's a thing that we can take up on responsibility when speaking our truth. And I very often feel like that our heart energy shall be emitted through our voice and through the words we speak into the world. So we hopefully contribute to healing our community and our world.
That's beautiful. Well, before we jump into your album, let me ask first how you even got started on this path, especially the merging of all of this together.
Well, I would love to have an answer for this, but I don't have one, and I feel like it's a story of my life that I shall be following my heart's desire and stumbling into things. And um, like that record took 7 years to create and to bring into the world. And I mean, you know, seven is like a powerful cycle itself. So a lot is shifting in general in a 7 year cycle, and we all know that there was a pandemic that also contributed to that fact. But just to fill you in, pre-pandemic, I was a touring musician, and I had tours in North America and here in Europe, and had a wonderful band and fulfilled so many childhood dreams that I had connected with music. And what I loved most about this is still what I love most about this today is using my voice, you know, and singing from the heart into an audience and with an audience. And I very, very much love this aspect. So I think I've created 3 records, two studio records so far, and then a live record. So I was at a point in my life where I thought, wow, I was so privileged and so fortunate to experience so much, and I allow myself to be a little bit more open in the process of creating the next record. But I had no idea that I was asked to be so open to really channel such a body of work and signing up on a 7 year program, more or less. And yeah, exercising myself in being patient, in learning all aspects of a cycle, you know, the pause, because that one became extremely important in these 7 years. And yeah, it was about dedication. And I think this was perhaps what led me through the whole process: dedication and passion. Yeah.
That is a very scary process to
Yes, I mean, if someone would have offered this to me 7 years ago, I would have been like, I don't know. But to be honest, because you also asked about how I merged all those things, that actually was the most scary part, because I was so scared of discovering like the gifts of mediumship. I guess many people experience sensitivities and energies and frequencies, and especially at a very young age. And then many of us forget this talent or trait, however you want to call it. And I feel like it always finds a way to participate in our world and in our life. And in my life, it always was the voice. Um, but then when becoming fully aware of what um, how I was allowed to contribute to society through the voice and through the creativity, and of course through the sittings, then I also had to face like my own worries and anxieties when fully opening up to that part of my authenticity, of my own authenticity, because I was also scared of um, of of all the things that are still hiding in deep pockets when you're tackling the imagery and the topics around mediumship, spirituality, mysticism, and the unseen world. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I feel like it's tough sitting at home and realizing, okay, if I start communicating this and opening up to the world, like this will shift something, and that can be scary, but I can also share this with everyone. It was scarier than I thought. Like, as often our anxiety is so loud and so scary that it makes things worse. And then when you relive or live through them and embody them, they are way more gentle. And this is how I experienced it. And what I can say with all my heart is that I feel so grounded and so thankful to show up and share this aspect of my being as well.
That's such a beautiful story. And I have such respect for artists who can share their work in that way and offer that up to other people, because that's a very vulnerable place to be.
Yeah, but I feel like, thank you for saying this, and I very much appreciate that. Though I think um, it's good to hear those stories because they can empower ourselves, reconnecting with the essence and the authenticity, knowing that once we're doing this, once we're following this heroine's path, we will lead to a treasure. And very often we think it's something small and maybe something delicate and just something that still will be treasured. And maybe that's the truth. But I feel I want to encourage you to dive deep and to explore, to uncover and embody it. And then when you're ready, share it with the world. Because honestly, we need everyone doing that right now.
And I think a great way to do that and to start working on your own cycle and your own gifts like that would be to use your music as a part of your journey. Um,
Yes. Yeah, thank you for saying it so beautifully. Yes. So the cycle and all other music I'm releasing, I'm also doing some uh, um, sound channelings with alchemy crystal bows in my voice. However, my voice and the bows are also a very important aspect on the cycle. And yes, it's meant to be a soundtrack that you can put on and listen to the heroine's journey and feel this story, and maybe invite all your senses to share pictures, scans, feelings, memories that come up when you are reconnecting to this music. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward, like hearing the experiences and the feedback when people dare to do that, because I also have respect. I think the record is 66 minutes, and dedicating 1 hour or 66 minutes to a sonic experience, sometimes you need to schedule this into your calendar. And if people sign up doing this on their own, I'd be very privileged and very honored to hear how this unfolds on an emotional way for them.
and I think it's a beautiful time to listen to that when you're feeling maybe not very connected to the spiritual side, to your witchcraft practice, that setting the tone and the scene of what's going on around you, your physical environment, can be very helpful in that. And I think music
Mhm.
is a huge part of that for me.
Yeah, thank you. I experienced the same, and I remember, you know, the sentence "music is healing" is so very old, and I remember hearing the sentence when I was a kid. But now, now 2023, I'm still wondering if people are really clear about the healing aspect of music, because when music is emitted with intention through our throats, and again, it doesn't need to be a music, it also can just be a sound or a word, then it will transmit into the world and affect the people surrounding us. And we all have this experience when someone is saying something insulting or there's something salty, we will feel it. And now imagine the love that comes through a throat or through a song. And yeah, I mean, music is healing.
It is, I agree. And I especially resonate with like the cyclical changes each year in my practice and in my life and how that comes through in the different seasons. So I love that your album goes along with that as well. Like I very,
Yeah.
very seasonally in how I live my life, and that comes through in my
Yeah.
spiritual practice as well.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I saw this in other podcast interviews that you had and on your online presence. And I also think um, that the cyclical living and that whole aspect of reconnecting with my nature as a bleeding woman was a gift that came through riding the cycle. Because honestly, like 10 years ago, I wasn't fully aware of what's going on in the seasons within my cycle. um, as I grew up and was born in a very small town surrounded by forests in South Germany, I of course knew how the nature and the seasons would affect the ground and the humans and animals. But you know, it's something different when you start embodying your own rhythm. Something will change, and this is extremely rewarding.
It really is. And not enough young women are allowed to learn that and explore that. So I
Yeah.
love that this is, even more important now and something that comes across in your work. And I hope it comes across in mine too.
Yeah, I mean, we just, you know, started to speak more about the female cycle, you know, especially doing the interviews for the record, and it was very interesting the unawareness of our cis male opponents and their knowledge or non-knowledge when it comes to the female cycle. So I feel like there is room and a lot of potential for awareness to grow, and also making our lives as bleeding humans a little bit more ease in ease, you know, not easier, but just a little bit more pleasant when we don't have to follow the higher, faster, stronger aspect of patriarchal culture.
Absolutely. And I love that you are able to put a literal voice to that and that come across in your songs. That's amazing to me.
Thank you.
Not a skill that I am at all familiar with. So to have somebody else have that come across in their creative work is so inspiring. How did mediumship present itself to you in your life?
So it was in my awareness and in my world as a young child. I have to say that I was so sensitive and open, and also knew at some point that the things that I'm seeing, hearing, feeling weren't visible or sensible to my surrounding. And at the same time, I had some thoughts, how do you say that in English? Glaubenssätze, you know, limiting beliefs that that kind of made me push those gifts away. And humans are so good at repressing when they're scared of it. So I did that, and kind of forgot about it. And like I said, only used the channeling aspect when singing or when writing my music. So fast forward, I was growing up, I had a music career, but at some point I also experienced a deep depression where I thought I had lost my intuition and wasn't just sure what my purpose is. And you know, I also felt like I lost the ability to sense passion, to follow passion. And that was a very deep but important point in my life because with support of friends and family and people that offered an alternative path at that point, I got more involved into the world of energy and the holistic aspect of keeping a body and a system healthy. You know, I'm also speaking about digestion. So I had to do a lot of work on my physical body, actually, in my gut to restore um, strength and the ability to um, feel energy within me, you know, feeling my own energy field, like that's something really important. Like I feel like every human being should experience this at one point, how their energy is feeling, how strong they can become. And on that path, I learned that I received actually also a lot of fun and interest and education when exploring those other opportunities to support your holistic system. And en route to that, a friend said to me, like, don't you think you're a medium? Because the things that you're seeing, experiencing, and seeing, they could lead to something. And this is when I signed up to join a mediumship academy. And that was 3 years ago. And ever since 3 years, I'm in a circle of mediums and um, learning and evolving and fine tuning my craft with other women in community. And that's something very beautiful.
That's amazing. And now you offer that same service to other people?
Yes, yeah, in my very own way. You know, I'm using a lot of voice voice tools, voice practical magic when creating my sittings. But yes, I want to share this with the world.
How does sound healing work?
How does that, you know, it's basically just physics. You know, if I can really trim this down, I've written a longer article on my website, which is called thecosmicdreaming.com, and there's a magazine, and your question is actually answered there in an article. So please, everyone, allow me to only like share a couple of sentences now, and if you want to dive deeper, like go to the website, and I think you can spend 10 minutes reading into this physical rabbit hole. But I want to explain it really simple. So we have a crystalline sound bowl. You know, crystal is the quartz that I'm using here. And when rubbing quartz, when applying mechanics on a quartz, like frequencies will be emitted in a Schwingung, in a sorry, this is the German English thing. Frequencies will be emitted through a sound waves, yeah. And these sound waves will touch uh, everything that is surrounding them. So now we can speak about us humans and see ourselves as an oscillator. So when a sound wave is like traveling through the field and then it touches the oscillator, the oscillator cannot not sign up, but will be infused with the frequency that is emitted. Part of the reason is that our human oscillator is made out of, I would say, 85% water, and water is the most significant carrier of waves and sound. And you can also test this. You know, I have a water glass here, and if you just do this with a pencil, then you see tiny waves like moving in this water. The cool thing is that when you play quartz with an intention, that I always do when I'm channeling sound healings or mediumship consultings, this information can also travel as a sound wave to the oscillator and infuse the oscillator with that information.
That is
Does that make
so,
sense to you?
yeah, so fascinating. And I love when the science supports the, metaphysical work that we're doing.
Yeah.
So that, the people can be, not anyone listening to this podcast, but other people can be such
Yeah.
skeptics about it. So I love when the science backs it up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you also for asking this, because I think that it's, my brain is also a very conditioned brain, and sometimes also needs a little clarity or a couple of numbers to prove it's correct. And after writing this article, I sent it out to friends that are engineers for new energies. I would love to know the correct term in English for their jobs, but literally these are people that are in the physics and mathematics world, and thinking about new opportunities to make the world greener, let's say, healthier, friendlier, and to use other modalities than the ones that will kill our earth, when thinking about electricity and so on and so on. So I was really happy that they gave me like,
Yeah.
a thumb up, like, well done, this is correct.
I wonder what that job title would be called. I don't know.
I
Listeners,
need to look it up. I need to
yeah,
look
I
it
don't,
up.
I don't know if that's, I mean, there's probably something more than like an environmental scientist. I feel like there's like a specific, some sort of
Yeah.
scientist. I don't know, listeners,
Or
do let me know if you know
yes.
what that would be called. That'd be
I look it up.
that'd be fascinating. But yes, I completely agree. And I think a lot of us are conditioned that way as well, that we have that scientific side because as children we were taught that all the spiritual stuff is sort of fake. And even as adults, then we bring that into our life where we're like, well, we need some sort of proof that something is working, but there really is like the science and the numbers behind it to show that
Yeah.
it exists, it's real.
Yeah.
How, for somebody that is listening to this and especially getting your album and listening to that and being inspired by what they're listening to, do you have any advice for those people for then taking the next step and tapping into their own gifts, their own intuition? I know that that can be scary for a lot of people when they are first starting out. So, do you have any advice to those listeners?
Yeah, don't be scared, and trust that there's so much to be uncovered for you. And you can also start really, really easy. And one advice that I very often give actually is the idea that when you wake up, and maybe even before you fall asleep, before you go to bed, place the palm of your hand on your heart and just listen to your heartbeat for a minute or a second, and greet your heart and say, hello heart, good morning, we're going to do this, we're going to go through the day, or we're going to close the day now. And while you're doing this, you can also mentally repeat that you're calling all energy back to you and letting go of everything that is not serving your highest good. And this can become a ritual, and your first me time in the day, and maybe also your last me time into your day. And this will help you feel your energy field and actually take more things serious that are within and your body than your brain, right? It sounds so romantic to connect with your heart, and um, that actually can be really scary for some people to really feel the heart energy. But trust me, this is a wonderful a ritual, and a very short thing to do. And the aspect with calling in all your energy and letting go of what no longer serves you, that's also very powerful, because I often see and feel like that people are carrying around responsibilities and thoughts that are not meant to be theirs, and are really distracting them from connecting with their essence that lies within.
I think that's a very good point, that it's something that we don't always listen to, especially in the morning like that. I think that's a really beautiful exercise that we sort of just jump into our day. A lot of
Yeah,
us open the phone first thing in the morning and
yeah.
are connecting with outside world and other things and not really ourselves. And even just taking those few moments to listen to your heart. That's such a beautiful practice. Not one that I have ever done, but now I really want to.
Cool.
It's a great idea. And it is so simple. It would just take a few seconds.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost anything, because when sometimes we think we have to get something to become something, and I feel like it's all about remembering that we have all the tools we need within ourselves.
I'm guilty of that myself, as social media
Me too.
influence, especially where I see something and I'm like, oh, I need that, but I don't actually need is the wrong word to use there.
Yes, I
I
mean,
want it and it's shiny and pretty, but it's
yes,
not I
I
need.
feel you. I feel you. I also have my passions with crystals and so on and so on. But yeah, this is a wonderful reminder, that your power can be felt like without anything but your senses.
Crystals are one of my weaknesses as well. They're just so beautiful.
So beautiful and so glittery and shiny. Yeah. Well, we're humans.
We all have that inner crow or magpie that's
Yes,
attracted to the
yeah, it
shiny.
could. Yes, yes, yes.
Besides the maybe heart practice and some of the others that we've touched on, do you have anything that you do regularly, your day, your week, maybe your month, whatever sort of cycle you're on, that you do in your practice, your day-to-day life to connect with your more spiritual side?
Well, I feel like my whole day is structured in little rituals and in little pauses that connect me with the spirit world like pretty closely. That's something that brings me so much joy, and I feel like they are always with me. They are always with me, and I don't feel like I need a proof for that. Sometimes it's just a feeling or a smile that I'm there, but I know you want something concrete, so let me think.
I mean, I love and appreciate that's your experience of connecting. Did it take a long time for you to
Yeah,
feel that way? Was that something, or I mean, I know that you
absolutely.
said you used to feel that as a child, but to feel as connected as you do now, is that something that developed over many years?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mentioned a point earlier that wasn't too long ago. I mean, maybe um 12 years, 10 years ago, when I had my very low point, and I said I didn't have contact to my intuition, and I feel like intuition and spirituality, they go along like hand in hand. And yes, it took so much trust to feel that I'm not alone. And also I feel like that the last couple of years were challenging for everyone listening, and many people were asked to reframe their value system, and very often that also applied to a career or to an idea, how you want to move forward, and how you see yourself in the world, like your 10-year plan. And these years have been like the Wheel of Fortune comes to my mind, the tarot card, where trust was the thing that was needed. And sometimes I feel like we need those experiences to truly embody um, embody what we call reality or trust. Do you know what I mean? I,
Yes.
I felt so led and guided, even though I felt like my path looks like really, really crazy. I'm dedicating my life writing this record for over 7 years, and there was a global pandemic, and I have to reorganize myself as a touring musician. And I actually thought that I'd be a touring musician forever, ever. So I I had to explore, I had to experiment, and now I feel like I'm sitting there. I've been through this, and I knew, or I know, I wasn't alone, and I'm also not alone now, and I won't be alone ever. I feel like we all are guided and protected as well. Like the ancestors, the spirit world, they are always with us, and sometimes they also like to be invited. That's something that I've learned, and that's actually something that's the recommendation that I can give through now. Invite them if you don't feel like them, and ask them to whether give you a visual sign, an audio sign, a feeling, anything. Like, ask them and invite them, because I feel like this is sometimes what they also love to hear.
Yeah, and expressing that they're welcome and wanted in a
Totally. I've also like embodied the archetype of the hermit for those years, and I wanted to be alone and needed time for myself. So I felt like they were also very gentle in how they approached me.
I completely understand that and feel that because I consider myself very introverted and hermit-like myself.
Mhm.
And you see something online where they're like, "Oh, if you got $1 million, could you stay in your house and not talk to anybody for 2 weeks?" I'm like, "We're getting paid for this?" Like, that's already my
Yeah,
life.
yeah, yeah.
But I really enjoy that, and I feel that that might come across in my ancestors as well, that I have a lot that were also introverts and maybe needed that extra reach out in life to be like, hey, let's do something. And it makes sense that in death they would also appreciate that invitation and don't want to feel like
Totally,
they're intruding on
totally.
my space and my time. So for me to extend that invitation, it's the same as I would do with somebody in life.
Absolutely, especially when it comes to your ancestors, like they show themselves way more human than you would think. Some
Yes.
traits they just stay the same, and they are also meant for you to realize it's them. That's also part of authenticity that you apparently keep when traveling to the other world.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I know my husband's family in life and in death is very much like we show up and we know that we're welcome and we'll be here. Whereas mine was very much like we're not going to bother you. Let's wait
Yeah,
for an invitation. So it's
yeah.
very different energies, but that has absolutely translated in death as well. Well, Laura, I want to thank you very much for spending time here today and sharing your story and your expertise. I really appreciate all of the answers you were able to give.
Thank you so much, Steph, again for your invitation and for you to listen. And I'm very much looking forward to connect with you.
And listeners, I am going to have everything linked so you can find Laura and all of her work if you'd like to work further. And especially, I am going to have the album linked so you can give it a listen. So I think that you are really going to enjoy the experience. And I think that it will be, a really beautiful part to incorporate into your practice, into your daily life if you're trying to um, set the scene for your spiritual life. When we were setting up this podcast recording, Laura specifically said, perhaps you want to give my record a spin, and when listening to it, walking outside in nature. And that was like, I was
Oh,
like, yes,
yeah.
gonna do it. Perfect, perfect recommendation. So I recommend that for listeners as well.
Oh, wow. Thank you. You did that.
I did, of course.
Oh,
In the notes,
tell
I
me
was like,
about the.
done.
Will you tell me about the walk? Do we still have that time?
We do, we do. I have a nature trail near me that goes through the woods. So I was able to just put some headphones in, go with my dog. I push her in a little stroller and head out into nature to give it a listen. And it was such a beautiful experience to connect more with what was going on around me. Sometimes, when you put headphones in and you're listening to, something pop that's on the radio, you're more paying attention to that. Whereas I think your music um, inspired like the environment as well. It sort of, everything went together so beautifully. So I was hearing the music, but also focusing on what was going on around me in nature, connecting with my dog too. So it was a really beautiful experience.
Wow. Ooh, thank you so much for sharing. That makes me so happy. Thank
So
you.
listeners, I recommend that to you as well. I think that's going to really set a great tone for your spiritual workings, for your witchcraft practice to incorporate the music into it, especially if you are feeling a little lost, a little disconnected. A great way to incorporate that.
Great. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful time, everyone.
Listeners, thanks so much for being here. And that's everything I have for you this week. I will see you all next week.
Need even more witchcraft in your life? Subscribe to Witch Wednesdays on Patreon and YouTube for all types of exclusive bonus content like spells, recipes, book reviews, and more, or even order personalized tarot readings and spells. Be sure to follow on Instagram at Witch Wednesdays Podcast. And you can find all these links and more at witchwednesdays.com.